This show is clean, pretty much.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 644. It's Mike Matthews, broadcasting from the last place on Earth, located somewhere in Castro Valley, California. Today, Madame Rootabega, Valentino, Bison Bentley, plus the return of the feature WOW SCHATZ WOW, where we look at some interesting technology news. And we have found more space in space. How? Well, I'll tell you. Mike's Daily Podcast. And don't worry about that, because I know worrying is something that you tend to do. Mike's Daily Podcast. Last show, the disgruntled fiddle player told us now he's a member of Mumford & Sons. He's the guy that's holding the Coleman lantern. Yeah, that's the one. He's holding the lantern on the stage because those guys look like they're from some long ago time. But their music's awesome. I like it. If you don't like it, then, well, that's your opinion. Mike's Daily Podcast. If you didn't know, that was your opinion. I watched the last thing Jay Leno said on The Tonight Show. Mike's. And now Daily. There's Jimmy Fallon. Podcast. So I watched the last thing Jay Leno said. Yeah! And I watched the first thing Jimmy Fallon said on Monday night. I didn't watch the very first one. I'm trying to watch it on Hulu, but Hulu won't show you his first week. They have it on Hulu Plus, and who wants that? You pay money, and you still have to get commercials. But so Jay Leno wrapped up his show for the second time, and he even made an allusion to the previous time he said goodbye, and he said, well, last time we were here, we brought everybody out on stage. They had their babies and everything. It was really honest to God, I can't understand him. Am I that bad when I talk? Hopefully I'm a little bit more clear and I enunciate a little bit more. But he was emotional too. Oh wait, no, he always sounds like that, right? Where he mumbles. But he talked about that time where he brought all the family out. That was the good time. That was the time he should have said goodbye for good. And Conan, he should have kept the show, or they should have just put some other person in there to replace Conan, not Jay Leno again. That was stupid. And now Jimmy Fallon's in there, and I watched a couple minutes, and I flipped right back over to At Midnight with Chris Hardwick. That show makes me laugh. Love Chris Hardwick. He is a podcast guy. He reinvented himself. My hat's off to him. Hey, this is Chris Hardwick. This happened on Vimeo today. And what they did on the show I was watching, I believe this was from Monday night, when Harold Ramis sadly passed away. You know, one of the movies he did was Groundhog's Day. And you know how that movie is, where something happens to Bill Murray, and then the day keeps repeating over and over again. And you always see the clock radio with the little flaps for the numbers. And so they keep going, it's 59 minutes, it's 11:59, 59 seconds. This happened on something today. So they kept, after each commercial break, they restarted the show. You see, kind of like the groundhog. Thank you. Kind of like that over and over again. It was funny. Very nice, touching tribute. He said something about Harold Ramis at the end about how he got into comedy because of Harold. Very cool. And I would say one of the most talented Harolds we ever had on this planet. Such a sense of humor, that guy. He was fantastic, Harold Ramis. And Chris Hardwick does a great job on At Midnight. Check it out. Him and three comedians going through all the stuff going on the internet that day. And they play it like a game show, but really nobody wins. But people get points. And there's all kinds of catchphrases flying out of that show, like points when you say something really funny and hilarious. Points! And people just, I know they probably get the questions ahead of time, so they get to come up, spend a little bit of time working up some of the funniest one-liners you've ever heard. But also, there is, I think, at the last thing they're asked to do, I think, is off the top of their head, and that's generally really funny as well. Chris Hardwick was the host of the Singled Out show, along with Jenny McCarthy, but he was the guy, the announcer, that took you in and out of the commercial breaks. He looked much different back then. He looked like the total cool 90s heartthrob guy, and now he's reinvented himself as a podcast / television host of The Talking Dead and of this TV show. So one thing Chris does like to talk a lot about is stuff that happened in the 80s. And we make fun of it. We always talk about 80s like we just sort of do a quick one-over about what it is, right? We say Cyndi Lauper, girls just want to have fun. That's the 80s. Or Ronald Reagan, that was the 80s. Arnold Schwarzenegger. But there is something I think people forget about the 80s, that it was a time when really technology as we know it today, tech, was really taking hold. Late 70s, 80s. And you see that in the culture. Of course, you hear that in the music. The synthesizer has become so prominent. People just are accepting it and loving it. And songs that get on the radio have got to have it in some way. And the feeling is so... The young people, which I was at that time, we just felt like, yeah, this is cool. Carry that. Let's see where this takes us. We want computers. We want the technology. We want this. We want cool effects, which we really didn't have any cool computer CGI stuff yet. Last Starfighter, but like nobody saw that. I saw it in the theater, but nobody else I knew went to see it. And then there was War Games, but that was really bad. Not even CGI. So we were wanting that technology and the step forward. But man, oh man, and I guess in some ways it's like today. There is this group of people, let's call them adults, wanted it, keep it the way it was. Oh, this technology is too much for me. I can't figure it out. Computers, what? This synthesizer stuff? What is that thing I'm hearing on the radio? I miss the good old days. We had a simple crooning song, came from the heart. Beautiful. What is that, Jimmy Stewart? So we were so wanting that. And I guess that, for me, and for a lot of my friends, we love today. We love the modern times. We wish we were younger. We wish we weren't gray or bald or, just feeling the effects of being in our 40s. But we love this technology, all this, the smartphones and all this stuff, because that is the carry-through from those times. And it's finally coming to fruition now. And it is awesome. But the 80s was the beginning of that, and the late 70s. So it kind of sucks for young people today, because in some ways, times really haven't changed that much. I mean, yeah, you can talk on your phone to anybody, text on your phone to anyone, go on the internet. But a lot of kids, their parents are like, yeah, this is great. This is wonderful. It's not like our parents were kind of like, this is ridiculous. What's happening? The world is spinning out of control. Oh, MASH is on. Hey, I'll re-elect Ronald Reagan, because he was an actor that I saw a lot in the 50s who told me that I should smoke. But this is one thing that we always worried about when we were younger, and now, unfortunately, it did happen. As we know, Fukushima, the nuclear power plant there, had a meltdown due to that tsunami in 2011. Well, according to Live Science, radiation from that nuclear power plant has reached the waters offshore of Canada. Researchers said at the annual American Geophysical Union's Ocean Science meeting in Honolulu, 2 radioactive cesium isotopes, cesium-134 and cesium-137, have been detected offshore of Vancouver, British Columbia. The detected concentrations are much lower than the Canadian safety limit for cesium levels in drinking water. Tests conducted at U.S. beaches indicate that Fukushima radioactivity has not yet reached Washington, California, or Hawaii. The impending arrival of radioactive contaminants from Fukushima has raised concerns among coastal residents in the U.S. and Canada, but oceanographers and radiation experts say the radiation levels will be too low to threaten human health. Now, somebody should walk in right now. Hello, Michaelmas. This is Madame Rootabega, and I like to use cesium in my shampoo. Cesium? Yeah, cesium blue. Oh, that's Selsum blue. Do they even make that anymore? I haven't bought shampoo in like over 10 years, so I have no idea. Michaelmas, I think that you would look nice if you use shampoo on your bald head. All right, I'll take it to... That's it. The last advice you gave me was that I should shine my head up with the same stuff they use to shine bowling balls.
Yes, and are you doing it?
Yeah. Look who else just walked in.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, we really enjoyed your explanation of the 80s day.
Yeah, the 80s were wonderful. We really enjoyed the music of Men at Work. Do you know that? Oh, you know what? I really love that song. You know, and it's great. Colin Hay has just continued to be the consummate singer-songwriter. Everywhere he goes, people always go to his shows, and the song "Day After Day" it appears.
What's that song? I was talking about the one about the Vegemite day.
Yeah, do you come from a land down under? Do you know that? Yeah, that's a good one too. So, this also going on, today's show having to do with technology, and we have this Kepler telescope in space. And apparently, according to the WashingtonPost.com, to the list of planets orbiting distant stars, add 715. That's the number of planets strewn out among 305 planetary systems, popping out of the observational data from the Kepler Space Telescope. These new planets are all in multi-planet systems and are relatively modest in size, most of them smaller than Neptune. 4 of the new planets are about twice the size of Earth and are in orbits that put them in what is considered the habitable zone of their stars.
You mean long time ago in a galaxy far, far away?
At a distance that could allow water to be in a liquid state at the surface. How awesome is that? There are more leisure, more habitable zone planets out there, scientists said. Small planets in very tight orbits are the ones most likely to be detected by Kepler, which looks for the dimming of starlight as a planet passes or transits the disk of the star as seen from the telescope. The star, planet, and telescope have to be aligned, a matter of pure chance. Planets that are orbiting at a great distance from the parent star are less likely to be lined up. So planet hunters look for quirks in the starlight that might reveal a planetary companion. If the starlight wobbles, that can be a signature of the gravitational tug of a planet. If it dims in a regular pattern, that can be from a planet passing in front of the star as seen from the telescope.
Michaelmas, when I see a star dim, then I know that star is going to be on The Apprentice. Ooh!
Madam, speaking of stars in space and stars in the movies, speaking of space, speaking of... I don't know what I'm speaking of. Oh, yeah. So the guy from Girls, Adam Driver, he is just so strange. It's so original. He's so strange. He quite possibly could be the villain in the next Star Wars movie, Episode 7. He's going to possibly be the movie's villain. J.J. Abrams is trying to get him for the role. And also in other Girls news, the very hot Allison Williams, of course, the daughter of Brian Williams from NBC News. She is just insanely beautiful, and she is insanely engaged. And who did she get engaged to? Her boyfriend of 3 years, College Humor co-founder Ricky Van Veen. Ooh, that's a cool name. Allison Williams Van Veen I would read a book about that character. I don't know. I mean, Brian Williams is a good-looking guy, but how he somehow created this amazingly beautiful daughter, I don't know. Not to mention, the character she plays on Girls is named Marnie Michaels, which is bizarre because one of my first girlfriends was named Marnie, and the name I had on the radio was Matt Michaels. So it would have been like, had I stayed that radio name the rest of my life and married that girlfriend, she would have been the same name. Isn't that fascinating? Would not have been as hot as the Allison Williams, however. And that's all the news that I have today. What are we going to do right now, guys?
Well, Michaelmas, first we're going to zap you because we know you're lying, because we know you have some more interesting news coming up.
What? You're right. Ow, ouch, ow. Wait a minute. That zap is causing a hole to open in space-time continuum. Look, we can see into the 80s.
Wow, Michaelmas, you actually had hair.
Yeah, I had the afro that kind of looked like, what do you call it, mullet. It was a fro-lit. And I, what's his name from Growing Pains had one. Chris Cameron? The guy who went all Jesus freak. Isn't that strange, Growing Pains? And then you've got the Alan Thicke's son become this huge Robin Thicke, have like the biggest video of the year last year with the naked women walking around. And the girl in that, the really hot brunette, who is part Israeli, part Polish, she is going to be in this Ben Affleck movie that's based on that amazing book. Well, what's it called? Gone Girl. That's it. David Fincher is directing it. Gone Girl, written by someone that used to write for Entertainment Weekly. You know, I really apologize for this show going off the tracks, off the technology tracks. We've gone into this entertainment area zone. Gillian Flynn wrote the book from 2012, best-selling novel.
Mike, there was some great science in the 80s. There was some weird science, like you could hook up a bunch of electrodes to a Barbie, and suddenly there'd be a beautiful actress there.
Kelly LeBrock, that's right. Yes, it was a magical time, the 80s. You could make a Kelly LeBrock out of a Barbie.
Is that why Sports Illustrated put Barbie on their cover for their swimsuit issue? Do you know that?
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that. Was Kate Upton made out of a Barbie hooked up to some electrodes? That could maybe we have some 80s science going on today in 2014.
Michaelmas, you were still in the 80s.
What? Oh, we got to get back to 2014. From Kelly LeBrock to Kate Upton. What a magical world this is. You know, it's also a magical world where it's raining cats and dogs in the Bay Area here in Castro Valley, California. It's pouring down rain, and I still hear somebody with a leaf blower. Gotta love California. So what do you love about California? What do you love about the state that you're in? Or your experience of the 80s? What do you remember? What was it like for you? And do you think that we will find even more planets, that we possibly will find life living on, or other Adam Drivers living on, or other Allison Williams? I will go to that planet if there are a bunch of Allison Williamses there. You can email me, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. Also email me there if you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you'd like to sponsor the show. And if you have a comment, email me, and we read your comments on the section Emails for Me-mail, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. There is also the website, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com, where there are links to where to listen to the show in iTunes, and you can subscribe to the show there and get it as soon as I upload it. And there's also where you can, comment on the show and rate the show there. And if you do that, more people find out about us in iTunes. And then there's also links to where to listen to us on Facebook. Yes, there's a Facebook page. If you like this show on Facebook, when I post a new show, share that with your friends and more people will find out about Mike's Daily Podcast. There's also links to where to listen to us in YouTube, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Stitcher. There is links to where to catch us on Twitter and Yelp. And if you want to support the show through the Amazon deal of the day, if you buy something that's a great deal on Amazon, we get a little bit of money for that. If you do that, if you go through the Amazon link that we have. And there's also the blog and the daily pockmark picture. No, that'd be gross. The daily podcast picture is there as well at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com.
Wow, Schatz, wow.
These are things that my mom would say, wow, Schatz, wow. Because she calls me Schatz because she's of a German descent, and that's part of their language. They say funny words like that. So, with that, let's look at some interesting stories that have to do with technology. But this one also has to do with fashion. Well, it's 2014 when this happens. This according to David McNeil of the magazine Wired. Fashion changes quickly. By the time a garment leaves the hanger, it's antiquated. Luckily, clothing rental service Le Tote realized that the solution isn't a selective closet, but an infinite one. With a nod to Netflix subscription model, for $49 a month, the San Francisco-based company mails a tote of apparel and accessories for customers to return whenever. And like Netflix, Its power comes from an ever-churning recommendation engine. Latote asks new users for their measurements and style options. Algorithms sort through items tagged with color, fit, style, and silhouette based on the user's past likes. And then a human stylist compares past selections with new pieces and assesses weather appropriateness. A human stylist gets involved. Already, I'm embarrassed, and I won't be using it. I don't want some human picking what I wear. That's like personal. What shows up in your mailbox may be brand new or lightly worn, but if Latote is doing it right, it'll fit your style.
Here in my car, I feel safest of all. I can lock on my doors. It's the only way to live in cars.
Oh, here's another German word. Uber, cars, pullover Uber cars in the Bay Area. Cars aren't the only mode of transportation in the ride-sharing game. Smartphones and cheap cloud software have made it easier than ever for other pickup startups to get rolling. This according to Victoria Tang in the magazine Wired. There is this startup. $1.3 million was raised in a seed round in May of 2013 for social bicycles. Users find and reserve two-wheelers through the web, the app, or a keypad on the bike itself. Locks and GPS units mean they can be left at any rack. No need to return them to a central location. Cyclists can also track miles traveled, calories burned, and CO2 reduced. That's all cool, but I still have not seen a lock that has been able to prevent a bike from getting stolen, so they may lose a bit of money in this venture. Then there's also RidePal. $3.2 million was raised in a Series A round in September of 2013 for RidePal. Billed as the Google bus for the rest of us. I love that. This company offers 16 routes in the Bay Area, shuttling registered passengers to and from locations that get established based on demand. Firms share buses, allowing for intercompany mingling. And then there is Scoot Networks, with $1.8 million raised in an undisclosed round back in November. Jack your smartphone into these battery-powered scooters. It functions as your key and your payment method. And you can zip around the San Francisco hills on the cheap.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay.
Zippers. Zippers, they stick, they pull, and zipping one-handed, forget it. This according to Biz Carson, also of Wired Magazine. When Scott Peters' uncle started losing hand strength due to a degenerative illness, Peters glued magnets onto the base of a normal zipper to see if they'd help. Well, it wasn't quite right, but after 5 years of development and 27 prototypes, he finally figured it out. His creation, the MagZip. It snaps together with diomium magnets calibrated so that the zipper is strong enough to be closed with one hand, but it won't jump together on its own. The technology caught the eye of Under Armour, which built MagZips into its line of fall jackets.
Moon River, wider than a mile.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Elton John. The moon. Almost a year ago, a meteor the size of a small boulder traveling over 70 times the speed of a bullet crashed into the surface of the moon, according to Alex H. Kasprak of What's Happening's Tri-City Voice. It created an explosion so bright that it could be seen from the Earth without a telescope. Scientists think that the force of the explosion was the same as about 5 tons of dynamite going off all at once. The whole thing was captured on video. NASA uses telescopes here on Earth to watch the moon for impacts since 2005. This impact was the largest they had ever seen. Scientists wanted to see what kind of damage this speeding rocket caused. A couple of months later, NASA was able to use a spacecraft orbiting the moon to zoom in on the area from the flash. And they ascertained it was caused by the meteor because that same area in a picture from 2012 had no crater there. The moon has a rich history of getting hit by meteors. Without weather or many of the geological processes on Earth to remove them, lots of the craters on the moon's surface are visible from this ancient time. But that doesn't mean that the moon's surface stopped changing after its hectic early years. Thanks to space rocks zipping around our solar system today, the moon's surface is not frozen in time. Instead, its ancient features are dotted with the scars of subsequent impacts that have occurred to this day. As you look at the moon in the night sky, its cratered surface is a reminder of the power and wonder of our busy stellar neighborhood. And you can go to spaceplace.nasa.gov to find out more about meteor showers.
Huckleberry friend, Moon River.
As we go outside of the last place on Earth where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California, and it is important to note as well that there was the biggest meteor ever observed beyond the one that happened a year ago. 400-kilogram meteor rammed into the moon at a speed of 61,000 kilometers per hour. This was on September 11th of last year. The meteor was 10 times larger than those previously recorded and left behind a 40-meter wide crater. While the meteor was the weight of a compact car, it was traveling about 38,000 miles per hour, creating a white-hot flash upon contact. And you can see that video that is on YouTube. And the link that I went through was at rt.com.
And here's today's podcast picture.
So it's really wet here in the Bay Area, and this picture was taken a couple months back when it was a lot drier. And a lot, we are going through a drought here in California, but it was really dry this past summer, and you can see, but it gets quite beautiful in the hills around Dublin, Pleasanton, Livermore. And I took a picture. I was walking up a hill with Basil the Boxer in Dublin, California. But it is neat when the hills of California get dry. Visually, it looks really neat. Not so good with the fire prevention, though. It gets dangerous when it gets that dry, but we will not have to worry about that for a couple of months after all the rain we've been getting today, and we'll be getting over the next couple of days. You can see that picture at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com.
Mike, sing some more of that song there about the land down under.
Where women grow and men shunder. Isn't it where women glow? Where women glow? Okay, do they glow in Australia? I'm not sure. I've never been there. It's quite a long flight. I'm gonna go there right now to find out. Anybody got a plane ticket? I don't have one on me. Do you, Valentino?
No, I don't. Airplanes are confusing. They charge you for this, charge you for that. What's the point there?
Because driving takes forever and trains suck?
I like trains there.
I don't. I hate that choo-choo sound they make. Do you know that?
I can think of something that sounds a little bit more annoying than that. Do you know, Dad?
What?
You think about it. So tomorrow we will bring you the return of the segment Into an Interview. We'll be talking to Reba Merrill. We'll have part 2 of our chat about Hollywood and life in the LA fast lane. And her story involves sweet, sweet candy. Not nose candy, but candy. We'll find out more tomorrow on Into an Interview with Reba Merrill. We'll also hear from Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer.
Michaelmas, I think that Jimmy Fallon is cute.
He's very talented, as I've said before, but the fact that they changed the theme song, they took the song that they had from Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and that song that with the dun dun dun, it's really fast paced, and now they're making it all sound Tonight Showy. It's stupid. It's not. It doesn't show off the talent of the band, The Roots. I love Questlove and their sound, and that's the song they used on the other show was much better. I really enjoyed that.
Well, you'll get used to the new one.
Why didn't they just keep the other one? It was great. It was fine the way it is. Now that song is gone forever.
I could hum it to you.
That's okay.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!
Ghosts appear and fade away.